Hey guys, today I'm checking out a guitar my bandmate got in a trade. This is a 2002 Fender Jagstang, made in Japan. This is the Kurt Cobain Signature Series guitar. Fender made these between about 1995 and 2002. And then they stopped production for a little while and restarted again from like 2003 to 2006. But today, these are getting really collectible, so keep your eyes out for one. If you see a good price, like 600, 700, 800 or less, pick it up. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead, do a full overview, we'll hear how it sounds, and then I'm going to talk about some of my thoughts on this guitar. Alright, so let's get to it and plug it into an amp and hear it. Alright, so I'm going to demo the amp with my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. I'm not going to use any outside effects, just some distortion that's built in, and maybe a touch of reverb. But other than that, just cables and guitar. Okay, so this is the Fender Jagstang, the Kurt Cobain guitar. So let's talk about the headstock. You just have a regular string tree. You've got a CBS style big fat Fender headstock, rosewood fretboard. These seem like plasticky fret markers. They don't seem like mother of pearl. It's kind of light fretboard for rosewood, but it's a 2002, so I think it would just be rosewood. Alright, so a humbucker and a single coil. The humbucker is supposed to be, it's a Fender Special humbucker, and it's a cheaper edition of the DiMarzio that Kurt Cobain actually received in his prototypes. And this would have been a Texas Special in Kurt Cobain's prototype, but it's also less expensive, but still Alnico pickup. It's not ceramic or anything. And then there are two switches, and they're both three-way selectors. As for the humbucker, basically you have on, off, on. As for the single coil, you have in phase, off, out of phase. The phasing only comes into play if you also have the humbucker turned on, in which case you'll get out of phase or in phase. And if the humbucker is off, it's just on, off, on. This is kind of a Jaguar style bridge, I believe. And then volume, tone, of course, an output jack. And this guitar does have a huge offset body, so good luck not having this thing roll over, because it's definitely not something you can set down very easily, which is why we probably have this smashed butt. Okay, so from the back side it's a little easier to see the vintage style tuners, or kind of Kluson style tuners, designed by Kurt Cobain. Maple neck, just an unstamped neck plate. And these guitars are made in Japan. I don't think they've ever been outsourced anywhere else. And the Jag-Stang came in two colors, this Sonic Blue, but also a Fiesta Red, which is kind of a tomato soup red. So when I was researching to get information for this guitar, I went down the rabbit hole. There's a really cool site called Jag-Stang.com, but definitely a rabbit hole. And it kind of made me think about what improvements I would make on this. I would definitely swap out the humbucker and the single coil, definitely do the Texas Special on the single coil. Kurt Cobain used a few different humbuckers earlier, like in Nevermind era. He used DiMarzios, and then later his guitar tech would switch him over to Seymour Duncan JBs, which is also a great sounding pickup. If I were to swap these out, I would do a little bit more research and pick one of those two types of pickups. Also, I would think about changing the wiring of these switches. I haven't really thought a lot about it, but I would definitely want to be able to make this a single coil pickup, so it's more like a Mustang. So I guess that's the biggest difference. Instead of this being on, off, on, I'd make it on, off, single coil. And that way you have kind of a Mustang sound to it. And then this one would be the same, you know, basically normal, off, reverse phase. And that'll give you a few new tones just by having the single coil setting on this. Another thing that I noticed was that the electronics are pretty cheap. This output jack is just probably some made in Japan thing that they were using in the early 2000s. These are small pots, small 250K pots. So one other modification I'd make is to set these up with 500K pots, and then maybe a resistor in line with the single coil, so that you're not running it through the 500K. You're getting some of that toned down sound that you would expect with the 200K pots. But I think most people playing this guitar are just gonna use the humbucker 99% of the time. So I would do 500K pots and then put like a nice orange drop cap on the tone, or some sort of oil filled cap. That would make this thing sound a lot better than it does today. And if you were to do these modifications, all these electronics kind of come out in one piece. You would have to cut the connection for these, actually probably these three. I think there's two cables that run in between this, but there's actually, this entire thing isn't all routed out. Actually, cables are running through a wood section like here-ish, but I think it's just two cables that would need to be desoldered. So pretty small, but if you're looking at this as a collector's item or as an investment, you may not want to do that, even though you could pull out everything and replace it without too much modification. Alright guys, thanks for checking out my video. That is the Fender Jagstang. If you liked it, please give me a like and subscribe. It would really help out my channel and I would appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye now.